Hi, this is Mr. Warden. I'm going to walk through a word problem situation here with linear equations. And so we're going to use a couple of tools. We're going to use a tool called a flowchart that I've created for the four different main types of equation types. And I'm going to focus in here on one type. I'm going to focus in on the point slope form, but let's actually use the flowchart to get there. So here's the story. After years of collecting My Little Ponies, you decide to join a My Little Pony of the Week club. So each week, they sent you a new package of My Little Ponies. After 3 weeks, your overall collection stood at 48 My Little Ponies. After 8 weeks, your collection stood at 103 My Little Ponies. How many My Little Ponies did you start with, and how many My Little Ponies will you have after a full year if your supply continues to come at a steady rate? So I'm going to separate out these last two questions, because to even get to those last two questions, we really need to come up with a model. We need to come up with an equation model. So we've had it implied there's a steady rate. We'll make an assumption that there's a steady rate in general. And we have some information. We know that after 3 weeks, there's 48 My Little Ponies. After 8 weeks, there's 103 My Little Ponies. And we also know you'd been collecting for a while, so you probably started with some number of My Little Ponies. We just don't know how many you started with. Of course, that's the first question at the end. So let's take a look at what information we have. It looks like we might have a time and an amount, an output. So after 3 weeks, there are 48 My Little Ponies. So we have a time, so we'll say 3, that's like an X value, and an output of 48, that's like a Y value. So there we have an input-output ordered pair. Now we have some more information. We know after 8 weeks, we had 103 My Little Ponies. Now you may already be thinking, oh, I have 3 points, so I probably could use the point slope form. Let's actually take a look at the flow chart and see how that works. So first of all, is there a rate of any sort in the story? Well, there's implied rate, but you don't get one. It doesn't give you one. So we're going to go with no. Do you have any sets of related data, XY points? Yes, we do. And are there, okay, so then we go to the next stage. So we follow yes. Are there 2 points? Well, if there's 2 points, then yes, there are. There's 3 and 48 and 8 and 103. Okay, are they both intercepts? Well, let's take a look at those. Neither of them have any values that are 0, so no, they are not intercepts. So there's not an x-intercept and there's not a y-intercept. Okay, so since they're not, we don't go down the intercept form. We go here. So next step, use them to find the slope. And then we follow after, and we could find the slope. So we're going to do that and then try the point slope form. So let's actually go ahead and do that. So let's find the slope with those 2 points. The slope is going to be change of y over change of x. So change of y, I'm going to go with 103 over 48, 103 minus 48, I should say. That's the outputs, the change in the outputs, change in the y. And 103 minus 48, so let's just calculate that real quick. That's 55. Okay, so 55. And I'll go ahead and calculate the change in x on a separate, little cell. So we're going to do, since we started with 103 minus 48, we got to start with 8 and do 8 minus 3. So that's 8 minus 3. Okay, so that's 5. Okay, so our slope is 55. We got 55 over 5, which is just 11. So we have a slope of 11. That's good to know. Okay, so it said use the point slope form. So let's try using the point slope form. So point slope form is y minus a known y value equals slope times x minus a known x value. And then we just got to pick which x and y value you want to work with. I'm going to use the smaller numbers. because they might be easier to calculate with. 48 for y and 3 for x. And I do get a line that does go through those 2 points. And now let's see what we need to figure out. So we have now a model for My Little Ponies. And the first question is, how many My Little Ponies did you start out with? So that's at the start of the time. And if time is x, then the start of the time would be 0. So let's copy pasta our equation. And if time is 0, what we're looking for is a y-intercept, the starting point when time was 0. So we'll make that a 0. So that's -3, and then we can just start solving. 11 times -3 is going to be -33. Y minus 48, now we have a one-step equation. Let's add 48 to both sides. Okay, and then y will end up equaling -33 plus 48, which is the same as, of course, 48 minus 33. And 48 minus 33 is 15. So we started with 15 My Little Ponies is the answer there. So let's put that in there. Okay, so you started with 15 My Little Ponies in your collection. Okay, and it looks like you're gaining them at 11 ponies per week. Now, the next question asks, how many My Little Ponies will you have after a full year? Well, if your supply continues to come in at a steady rate. So we're assuming that this number 11 is going to continue as a rate. So let's work that out. So a full year, we've got our model. So a full year means how many weeks? It means 52 weeks. And if x is weeks, well, we can replace x with 52 for a full year. So 52 minus 3 is going to be 49. And now we've got 11 times 49, which is 539. 539. Okay, and now we have a one-step equation. Let's add 48 to both sides. So that's plus 48. Adding 48 to -48 is nothing. And now we have added that together, we get 587. After a full year, you will have 587 My Little Ponies. Not your year. You will have 587 My Little Ponies. I think I might have said 538 a second ago, but I meant 587. 587 My Little Ponies in your collection. Okay, I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you might deal with point slope form. So just notice we've just started with a story in which we've gotten a couple of sets of related data. Related data basically is XY points if it's two pieces of data. You got time and an output. So 348 and 8103, time and an output. And then with that, we can get the slope. And with the slope and one of those points, we can work out the answers to these questions by simply replacing the time with the needed time. Okay, and we could also have worked out other questions. We could say, okay, how many weeks before you have this many My Little Ponies? So let's add that in there. We'll do that one too. Okay, how long before you have at least 300 My Little Ponies? Now, that's not going to give us an exact number of weeks, but we'll work out what it has to be because it says at least. Okay, so we're using the same equation. Okay, so we want to have 300 My Little Ponies. So since My Little Ponies, the number of My Little Ponies in your collection is the output, that's y, so we're going to replace y with 300. So now we've got a new equation where we're going to solve for x because we're trying to figure out number of weeks instead of how many My Little Ponies. Okay, so let's do that. So I've got 300 minus 48, and 300 minus 48 is going to be 252. Okay, so we can replace, so we'll say, copy that in here, and we have 252. Okay, and now we have 11 here. So I can either distribute the 11 in or subtract it from both sides. Or divide it, I'm sorry. We either distribute it in or we can divide it. I think it'll be easier if we divide both sides by 11. And now we have 252 over 11. And now we just need to add 3 to both sides. So this will be plus 3, which is the same as 33 over 11. And so now I'll just work that out. 252 plus 33 is 285. So that's going to now be x equals 285 over 11. So I get 25.909090, which means I have that equals 25 and 10 elevenths. So 25 and 10 elevenths. Okay, because 0.909090 is 10 elevenths. Okay, so it's going to take 25 and 10 elevenths weeks. Now, of course, you're not getting partial shipments. So what our real answer is 26 weeks. Okay, it will take 26 weeks. 26 weeks to get at least 300 My Little Ponies. Okay, and we could actually work out how many My Little Ponies you would have after 26 weeks too, if you wish. We can copy pasta this in here and say, okay, that's y. Okay, since we now know at a time, it's 26 weeks, so 26 minus 3 is going to be 23, and then 11 times 23, I'm just going to do that for time's sake, is 253. And then we'll find out how many My Little Ponies we would have exactly after 26 weeks. We just need to add 48 to both sides. Rid of the minus 48 because we added 48 to both sides. And so there will be, in fact, exactly 301 My Little Ponies in your collection at 26 weeks. You would then have 301 My Little Ponies. Okay. It's pretty exciting. You got this big My Little Pony collection. And I'll stop